Hey, it's Allison Schaefer, and welcome to the Facebook Live. I want to just jump on here a little bit early ahead of our 7 o'clock start time to give people the opportunity to get in, get settled, grab a piece of paper, a cup of coffee, your beverage of choice. We're going to be starting at 7 o'clock with some great content. I haven't checked in with people for quite a while, so if you know me, you know that we do these regularly, and if you are new, please welcome. Thank you for joining us. I really am interested in not only sharing great information and content to help you folks through, but I really want to know how you're doing. Every family has a unique situation, whether you're working from home, different ages and stages with your kids, whether you've got people that are sick in your family and suffering with COVID, loss of jobs. There's so many variables going on in our family lives right now. But as you know, the whole joy of going live is that we get to have some interaction here. So before I get going on tonight's topic, it would be wonderful if you could use the comment field and let me know where you're watching from. We'll see how wide our reach is today. So let me know where you're actually watching from, and maybe let me know the ages of your kids. And what would also be really helpful too is to let me know what is going on for you folks. What is your big concern? What is your big challenge right now in your family life or raising your kids at the stages that they're at? Because as you know, we're going to be doing these regularly over the summer and help you liaison into what back to school will be or won't be, yet to be determined, but we're still always shaping content so that we're current and trying to stay up to speed on what's impacting family lives as we move through this pandemic. So please use that comment field. And I'm going to repeat this a couple times just for people that are jumping on later in our conversation. But just so you know, part of our engagement here with you folks today is to say anyone that has put their comments in the comment field, your name is going to be entered into a draw, and one lucky person will be the happy recipient of a $250 Visa gift card. So hope that helps you overcome your shyness for posting. So comment frequently, let me know how old your kids are, where you're watching from, and yeah, give me a little bit of an update on what your challenges are and what you'd like to see in a future Facebook Live as we move forward. So if you are joining again for the first time, I do these regularly, and this one is actually one of my Facebook Lives that is entitled Family Talk. It's part of a series, and we will be doing these rather regularly, as I said, right now through to help you assist all the way through the summer and into that transition into the fall. And part of what the Family Talk program is about is providing support for parents. We want to help you so that you can raise happy and healthy children and prevent underage drinking. So we want to be part of that journey. Our mission is to give you that confidence, the skills, the tools that you need to approach this effectively. Now, much of what we talk about is items that are useful parenting skills and tools that will guide you through a whole bunch of adolescent problems. That many of these principles apply to different things that you're dealing with your kids. So even today, as we're talking about how do we get our kids to not underage drink, that's following a family rule. You might also have a family rule about who they can and cannot bubble with, or where they do and do not wear masks. And we use the same principles in guiding our kids. So if you're raising teenagers, you're going to get a lot more information. And this is one that we're doing tonight, but know that this is sort of our COVID edition. COVID, my kids keep telling me that I say that word wrong. So let's say pandemic. Everyone says that the same. But if you'd like to go back and watch other content pieces that we have done, I've got a whole library archived on my YouTube channel. So you do not need to watch them in order, but it is recommended that you watch them all. So you can check all of that out. And in fact, it's a great way to sit down with your tween or teen and actually watch them together so that it kind of sparks a good little jumping off conversation about your parenting and how you're handling things. I think that's a great little dialogue opener. So again, welcome. If you are new to my Facebook Lives, I want to give you a big welcome. Let me know where you're watching from, the ages of your kids, your current concerns. Your name will be put in for a $250 Visa gift card. And at the end, we're actually also going to have a survey. And the first 200 people to complete our survey about the content takes about 5 minutes. We're also going to offer you a Tim Hortons gift card as a way of thank you for your time and for helping us out in support of the survey. So I think I've given everyone enough time to settle in, and so we'll get ready on tonight's topic. And really, again, because we're dealing with this pandemic, as I've been dealing with parents in my private practice and the people that I interact with on my Facebook page and with my teen group, what I'm hearing parents saying is that we are now starting to experience not so much the problem that we were having in the early weeks of COVID with our kids being at home and in lockdown, but now as we're going through stage 2 and some places are in stage 3, now what we've got is a new dilemma for parents, because now we're opening up and this is presenting us with new challenges that we did not have to face before. And what we're seeing is that teens are, after so long from having not seen their friends, not being at school, not being able to socialize, all the extracurriculars got canceled, people didn't get to go to camp, people didn't get prom, no graduation. There is a real feeling of being pent up and a feeling of wanting to let loose. And so our teens are now springing forth with extra energy. And we know at this time of life, they go seeking for things that are very fun, exciting, and often thrill-seeking behaviors. So we're seeing an uptake in partying behavior. And that's why tonight's topic is so important, that it's a call to action to have a conversation with our kids, because it's likely going to happen if you've got youth out there. In fact, we just saw in the news here in Brampton, which is a town sort of outside of Toronto, and there was a house party that was broken up by the police that had 1,500 youth at this house. Now you have to know the mother did actually allow her child to have a few friends over, but because of social media, things go viral, and kids who have not been able to gather heard that there was a house where people were going to party, and they got descended on. And so the police were called in. There were many minors that were charged for underage drinking. They were charged for breaking social distancing policies. Really, we have to anticipate that this is a time that our kids are likely going out and they're likely going to be seeking out parties, which means now is a time that we need to be having these critical conversations. And while I want to tell you exactly how to sculpt that, we're going to have that conversation, I want to reinforce why I think this is important in the first place. That I really want to make an appeal to parents to say that you are actually, your attitudes and behaviors are the number one impact on whether or not your child decides to drink. That when we are trying to make a program to move Canadian children towards reducing underage drinking in our youth population, that the agent of change is to get the parents to feel some agency and to have those skills for them to influence their children. So the first problem becomes that a lot of parents think that they don't have that control, that they really feel powerless. They think, their teens are going to drink anyways. And so they, in abandon, throw up their hands and do nothing. And so I want to correct that mistake, that in fact you have incredible power. You have incredible power to be impactful on preventing underage drinking with your youth. So stick with the program. We'll tell you how to do that. So yes, you have the power. And the second thing is that a lot of us said, you know what? I drank when I was a kid, and you might even have some fun memories of your little youth antics. And so you might think, well, I did it and I'm fine. Look at me. Nothing happened to me. Well, that's minimizing or misunderstanding that we know that there are serious consequences for underage drinking that we did not know about when we were growing up. That research has found that there is now a very big, important difference between the teen brain and the adult brain. They're two different biological structures. And so now we're starting to understand that during adolescence, the brain is at this very vulnerable time, and the environment actually impacts the way that development, the way the synapses connect, and it changes structurally the brain. And so that is something we did not know when we were drinking. The other thing is that we also know that when we go through adolescence, there are changes in the hormones. There's changes in the neurochemistry, and those changes actually give our youth a propensity to want to have thrill-seeking, novelty-type experiences. And so that's good, except when the high-risk behavior comes at the same time as the part of the brain that develops the slowest. That our actual ability to solve problems, to plan effectively, to strategize, all that smart thinking stuff, it actually is underdeveloped at this time. So here we've got this high capacity to want to take a risk, this low ability to problem solve and strategize. Then you infuse alcohol into that mix while the brain is actually rewiring. It's very easy for our youth to actually have long-term consequences in their brain development because of this. And so for the sake of our kids' health and safety, the likelihood of avoiding a potential life-threatening accident, that these are the types of things that maybe you skimmed by, but now that we know and it's preventable, we really need to have this conversation with our kids. So from that premise, I hope that I can get you to revisit your attitude about the importance of this conversation and to see how impactful you need to be. So let me also just say that as we are looking about how things are happening during the epidemic, there are some things that are definitely happening. For example, we know that mental health has been impacted by this. It has for adults, and it certainly has for youth. In fact, Kids Help Phone reported that in the first couple of weeks of the pandemic, they had a 350% increase in the calls to their service. So we know that our kids are also under mental stress at this time. And then we need to check in and ask ourselves, how are we doing? And I started by saying, please put things in the comment field. I want to know, how are you doing? What are your challenges? How can we provide more resources for you? But the Canadian Centre for Substance Use and Addiction ran an early survey, and we'll probably get more data as time goes on through this pandemic. But what they recognized was that at the beginning of the pandemic, between April and May, adults who were working from home reported that they were increasing in their drinking habits. And they were citing the reasons for that, things that you can imagine: boredom, that they had lack of routine and schedule, they've fallen out of their regular daily regimes, that they are at home with nothing to do, stress, and loneliness and isolation. And so I think we can all appreciate that there are stressors on our lives. And so now we have to pay attention to our drinking behaviors, because modeling is incredibly powerful for children. As I said, you as a parent have a great influence on your children's drinking behavior, and modeling is part of that. So we have to stop and ask ourselves and say, what are my kids seeing? Just the same way that we model good behavior, getting a good night's sleep, eating well, exercising, we can also model bad behavior. So if we are too quickly dipping into the alcohol in order to help calm ourselves during this stressful time, and we're moving into unhealthy patterns of drinking, our kids are going to see that. So this is a call to action to check in on ourselves. Do you like your relationship with alcohol? Do you like what your kids might be seeing and then replicating by watching your drinking behavior? So let's keep a check on that, because our kids need us to be really strong too. So let's get down to the talk. How do we go about talking to our kids about underage drinking? Well, I'll start by saying start early. I think parents are always a little bit shocked that things happen earlier in adolescence than they thought. They keep thinking, oh, that's going to happen at 16, that's going to happen later. It's much easier to have this conversation when our kids are young, and in fact, so young that it doesn't even seem like an interesting possibility. It's just a conversation like any other conversation. So you might even just in the moment with the preschooler who might happen to grab your beer at a lawn party, you can say, no. That has alcohol. Alcohol is for adults. That's not for children. That's not for you. There, boom. There's one teachable moment that still represents your attitudes and your thoughts and reflects your position on alcohol with that educative component to it. So start early. The next thing is that we want to have frequent conversations. That this is something that you pepper throughout their lives. This isn't a one and done, just the same way that we talk about any other complex issue, that it's more like onions with layers, and that as your kids get older, you're going to start having more sophisticated conversations. They're going to ask you more important questions, but because you're peppering it here and there, making these sort of short and sweet conversations, they're low threat conversations, and the whole time you're really proving to your child that this is subject matter that does not make you reactive, that it is more about sharing knowledge and being curious and open-minded and getting information in their hands. And so you're setting that attitude that you are a good source of information and that they can come to you about these topics. I also think that kids learn contextually, that it's just so much easier to have a rich conversation with kids when you talk about something that's really going on in their life. So again, a younger example for kids might be somebody at the backyard barbecue stumbles, and you can say, oh, well, it looks like our uncle got intoxicated. That's irresponsible drinking. When you drink to a point where you're intoxicated, which is unhealthy, then you lose control of your body and you stagger and fall and you can't operate your body as well. So that can make you dangerous for trips and falls, and you certainly would never drive a car. So it might just be a small little conversation about something they saw. Or if you see a car accident at the side of the road, you can say, oh my goodness, I hope everybody is okay. There's so many people that don't follow the advice of don't drink and drive. We know that it impairs your judgment, slows down your response time. And oh goodness, I certainly hope this wasn't a situation like that. Anything that comes up in their friend groups, thing that they might see on social media, those are all opportunities to have conversations about what's going on in their life. And so that's the next piece, which is if you want your kid to talk to you and you want to be part of their journey and you want to be supportive about what they're facing and what they're up against and the stressors and the challenges of being in a community that might be putting the request for them to join in with the drinking, the best way for you to be the support is to be able to understand their world. And so you might not get a really good answer if you ask direct question, are you drinking, did you drink? But you might just start gently. You might just start saying like, hey, you know what, are people starting to bring, alcohol with them in their backpacks? Or have you seen that showing up when people get together? General comments like that. Are you seeing challenges? Some of these challenges, on social media. What are the challenges? And what do you think the appeal is? What is the appeal? What do you think impresses people so much about drinking to the point of being blackout drunk? Do you think your friends know enough about the effects of alcohol at this point and have talked to their parents the way we've been able to talk about the fact that you can actually drink to the point of shutting down your brainstem and dying from alcohol poisoning? Have you ever had to care for a friend that was, had too much to drink? Have you had to be that caregiver? How did that make you feel? Was that scary for you? So as you sit and you get into this conversation, if you can do it in this sort of non-judgmental, caring kind of a way, your child is going to open up. It's when we get too directive in giving advice that we change what our motivation seems to be, and we don't come across as being somebody who is somebody with some sage wisdom, who loves and cares for their child and who understands what the pressures are and what's going on in their life, and that if we have that close relationship and we can get these good dialogues going, they're much more likely to drink from our well of wisdom. Whereas if we try to cram things down their throat, as you know with so many other topics, when we want to get controlling, when we work from fear, that is much more likely to have our kids reject what we're trying to get them to understand. So that much more relationship conversation that comes from you first understanding their world, their concerns, their pressures, then you've got an audience for you to share your concerns about their well-being. And this is where we want to turn it into, it's about their well-being. That because we care about their safety, because we care about their health, that we have this family value, that the reason why we have a drinking age associated with alcohol is because it's been decided that the brain is not ready at that point. And so we are supporters of that law, and that this is our family value, to put wellness and the care of our family first. So we're law-abiding, those are our family values, and let them know that you have expectations that they will fall in line with those family values. That when we can project that positive expectation, our kids are more likely to move in line with that expectation. Are they going to be perfect? No. We're going to do a whole other Facebook Live. We're going to talk about when you find your kids drunk, because mistakes will happen. And again, because parenting matters, and parenting is the biggest portion of whether your kids decide to drink or not drink again the next time, as you're shaping that behavior, how you respond to that mistake has also got to be in an effective way. So we will talk about all of that and another strategy. But this is how we open up the conversation and lay that good groundwork so your kids have the information, they know your attitudes and beliefs, they know your faith in you, and that you're able to enter into their world. And especially in this world where they're going to have to educate you about what's going on, because we've never been through a pandemic before. We don't know all the individual angst that our kids are going through and how they're coping and other ways that they may cope. So this is the content that I wanted to make sure that I got into your hands tonight. And as I said, there's all kinds of companion pieces back on my YouTube channel if you would like to gather more. If you put your comments in the comment field, I'm going to turn this over to question and answer, and I will promise that I'll answer everybody. Anyone who does post a comment, your name will be put into a draw for a $250 Visa gift card. And at the end, it would be so very, very helpful for me to know that my work here is being impactful. So there is a survey, and if you click on the survey link, then there is a very short, just a handful of questions. I promise you less than 5 minutes. And to thank you for your time and contributing that way, there's a $5 Tim Hortons card. So let me buy you a coffee for helping me out, and I hope that I have helped you out.